everyone, welcome to a new video. As you could see in the title, today we will be exploring the total costs of having a car. I see many people buying cars. I mean, not that I see them, face to face, but in Instagram, either my friends are starting to get cars or friends of my friends are getting cars. And something that I always wonder and that always pops into my head is, have they used all of the money that they have saved up to buy this car? No, come on Robert, are you stupid? Of course, people know about finances and they know that buying a car is not an investment but a huge expense. And they already have most of their savings invested in the stock market because they are aware of compound interest and the fact that the sooner you start investing, the better. And although I would love for this to be true, I can tell you that the reality at the moment, or at least the reality that I see, is not this one. And maybe I'm a bit extreme, but to me, a car is just a machine that takes me from point A to point B. And it is just a massive expense that adds up on top of all the others. But in any case, let's go and actually quantify which is the real cost of owning a car with a real example. In this case, I will be using the car that my mother has and that we have had for 11 years now. Are you ready? Then smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. First of all, to put you in context, we'll be speaking about the Renault Grand Scenic that we bought back in September 2018. In case you're not familiar with the car, it is a pretty big car that can have up to 7 people, and it has a very big trunk, of course when you are not sitting 7 people, only when you are with 5, that can fit almost anything. In my opinion, it is a pretty ugly car, but also a very practical one, especially if you have a family. So we bought this car back in September 2008, as I mentioned, for a price of 18,000 euros. So we can consider that this was our initial cost of acquisition. And my feeling is that many people, when buying a car, they think that this is the biggest cost they will have and that's it. But as I will prove, and that as you will see later on in the explanation, this is just the beginning. The next expense you will have straight after buying a car will be basically the yearly expenses needed in order for you to actually be able to drive on the road the car that you just bought. The first one is the insurance. In our case, this costs us 450 euros a year. But this is considering that my mother has had the driving license for more than 20 years now, that she has not lost any of the points that come with the driving license, so she has not had any big accidents or caused any problems, and that she is not under 25 years old. And I say that because if I were to be the primary holder and owner of the car, since I am under 25 years old, I would be paying double to triple this amount. In any case, I will leave it with 450 euros since this is how much my mother is paying at the moment. Next comes the circulation tax, which adds up 65 euros more per year. And finally, we have the regular yearly check of the vehicle, which adds another 50 euros on the list. Now we see that having a car does not only involve the 18,000 euros in our case of buying it, but also it includes 565 euros a year on taxes and insurances in order to be able to use it. But of course, that's not it. Now we need to add the reparations. And in reparations we have some that are just, part of the regular maintenance of the car, but then there are others that might come unexpected. In our case, we have been pretty lucky because throughout these 11 years we have not had any major problems. Just to list a few things, we have had the system to make the window go up and down broke down, also the door knob, and the light bulbs that need to be changed every now and then, but other than that, nothing else. In total, throughout these 11 years, we have spent 5,306 euros and 23 cents on reparations and maintenance. With this point, we have already covered all the fixed costs of owning a car. And I consider them fixed because they are the same regardless of how many kilometers you drive a year with the car. Okay, we could argue that if you drive the car more, then you will most likely have more reparations and then the cost would be slightly higher, but essentially they are all fixed costs. Adding all of the ones that I just mentioned before, so the cost of the car, taxes, insurances and reparations, for 11 years, we see that we have spent in total 29,521 euros and 23 cents. And dividing this over the 11 years, we see that we have spent every year 2,683 euros and 75 cents on the car. But of course, you don't have a car just to be, sitting there in the garage, ready to go because you have the insurance and so on, but just sitting there to show off. I mean, if you have a lot of money, maybe yes, but it's not what people usually do. Therefore, since you will be driving the car, I feel like we should also add the cost of the gasoline. In the case of our car, it is a diesel one and uses approximately 5.5 liters of diesel every 100 kilometers. In terms of kilometers, at the moment the car has 190,000 kilometers, which if we divide over these 11 years, we see that we have done on average 17,272 kilometers per year. Taking this and also the fact that the average price of the diesel has been of 1.2 euros per liter of gasoline. I mean, now it's obviously much lower with the crash and so on, but essentially throughout these 11 years it has been more or less around that. We see that we have spent a year an extra 1,140 euros to drive the car. Finally, before we uncover the total that you can already actually calculate, and no, I'm not gonna ask you for a like and subscribe, although you are more than welcome to do so. I just want to mention that we should also consider that many roads, at least in Spain, there are tolls. So in many highways you need to pay them, and I just want to say that I left this aside because, okay, we could argue that people can take just secondary roads instead of taking the highway, but I feel like many people also end up taking the highway, so that would also add on top. Adding all of it up, including the gasoline this time, we see that throughout the lifetime of our car we have spent 4,061 euros and 23 cents to have it. This is a lot of money, and it could even be much more, especially considering two things that I have already mentioned. The first one is that we have been super lucky and we have not had any major problems with the car. And secondly, that for the size of the car, its consumption is pretty low. In any case, if we look at this figure over a year, we see that we have spent on average 3,823 euros and 75 cents per year in order to have a car and use it. Going back to what I mentioned at the beginning, I feel like having a car is a pretty big expense. Let's take the average gross salary in Spain, which in 2019 was of 27,537 euros per year. I used an online calculator. I will actually leave the link down below in the description in case you want to use it, but according to that, the net salary left per year, which is, average of Spain, would be of 21,542 euros per year. And of course, to that we will leave aside the fact that many of the people working in Spain at the moment are not earning anywhere close to this average salary that I just mentioned. This means that if you buy a car for yourself, you are spending 17.75% of your net salary just and only on the car. In my opinion, this is a lot of money because not only you have the cost of the car in your life, you also need to pay for the apartment you live in, you also need to pay for the food, I don't know, if you go out someday or whatever. So basically, if you start adding expenses, it basically means that you are not saving any money a year, which is very bad in my opinion. In any case, the final decision to buy a car is of course yours, and I don't know your personal finance situation, but I just hope that you make a more informed decision thanks to this video. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you enjoy it, make sure to like it, subscribe, and see you next time.